Now, does it happen to you that most of the time when you are talking with your child, let's say, for example, you've asked him, do you want the juice? And instead of telling him, yes, I want the juice, he actually say, do you want the juice? He keeps repeating whatever you tell him. So, in other words, we call this a chorea. It's when the child, instead of replying to questions, he actually repeats them. Why is that? And how can you solve this? You need to first understand that when a child is repeating words, that's a sign that some of the brain regions which are responsible to help him respond to you are still developing. And what are those brain regions I'm talking about here? Here I'm talking about Wernicke's area in the temporal lobe. This is a part of the brain that helps us to understand what is being said. So if a child did not understand, some children also keeps repeating the words because he wants to make that part of his brain to understand what you're trying to talk about. So when a child, you tell him, do you want the juice? And instead of telling you, yes, I want the juice, and instead he keeps repeating it, that's a sign that his brain side, his brain part, in charge of helping him to understand that instruction, those words you said, that language you said, it's still developing. It hasn't yet matured to the extent whereby it can help him to understand what you're talking about. So the child will not be able to respond to you, not because he's rude, but because he did not understand and he's yet to understand. And again, another reason, and some children actually get to a point where you say, do you want the juice? Yes, he knows they are talking about the juice. But now you find the problem is in the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex, this is the part of the brain that must think the answer, organize it, and choose the right way to answer you. So if this part of the prefrontal cortex, that's why we say stop screens and replace it with real life interaction. We replace it with reading picture books together with your child, going for outdoor activities, going for gatherings, going for parks. These things that allow your child to interact with more people, those are the ones that actually stimulate the prefrontal cortex. So if the prefrontal cortex, the neural networks there, are not yet developed to the extent where they can help him to organize and to think the right answer to answer you, still the child will not be able to answer to you that I want the juice. Yes, he was able to understand in the Wernicke's area, but in the prefrontal cortex, the problem became now to choose the right answer to give you. So another part of the brain that now, and it's the last one, why the child, you say, do you want the juice? And instead of you saying, yes, I want the juice, instead the child repeated the same question you asked, is the Broca's area. You find Broca's area, this is the part that helps us to plan and produce now the speech, produce now the real answer, which the prefrontal cortex has prepared. So if these three brain regions are still developing and are not yet matured or are not yet at a level where they can handle their functions, the child will not be able to answer you. And how do you strengthen these parts? We'll say stop screens, replace it with playing with your child. Take 1 hour every day. Play with your child through running game, ball playing, climbing, even taking your child for swimming classes, because these are the ones that helps stimulate these brain regions. Another thing you can do is to give your child these types of food, we always say here, which strengthen the brain, help to develop, and even which have omega-3 fatty acids and omega-9, like fish, avocados, eggs. These ones also helps with brain development, which will support these brain regions which are yet to develop for your child to start answering correctly.